Want a cookie? Oh, I know you just ate, so you're craving something a little sweet. Besides, one cookie isn't gonna kill you. How about half? Just a bite? Bite it. Bite it. Bite it.
Food noise isn't fair, but Mochi Health is. Your affordable GLP-1 source that puts you on a path to successful weight loss by quieting food noise.
Bite it!
Shh. Learn more at joinmochi.com. Mochi members have access to licensed physicians and nutritionists. Results may vary.
This Valentine's Day, celebrate the one you love the most with Hallmark cards at Walgreens. Valentine's Day is the best time to send your favorite person a reminder of just how much they mean to you. A Hallmark card is a super simple and beautiful way to say how grateful you are for the love you two share. Don't forget, Valentine's Day is Saturday, February 14th. Visit Walgreens today to find a Hallmark card that shows just how much you love them. Because love lives here.
This is going to be really fun. Okay, so Mandy, what do people ask you about the most? The Tortellis, Yogalosophy, your friendship with Jennifer Aniston, or Top That from Teen Witch?
Hands down, it's Top That.
From the heart of Hollywood, it's the Patrick Labyorteaux Show with Patrick Labyorteaux.
It's the Patrick Labyorteaux Show. Patrick Labyorteaux, he's the one you gotta know.
Tonight's episode, Mandy Ingber.
Patrick Labyorteaux Show, he's the one you gotta know.
Okay, you know her as an actress from the Tortellis, Dirty Dancing, Teen Witch, or as the author of the New York Times best-selling books, Yogalosophy, 28 Days to the Ultimate Mind-Body Makeover, and Yogalosophy for Inner Strength, 12 Weeks to Heal Your Heart and Embrace Joy. I happen to know her from pool parties in the Valley. Please welcome Mandy Ingber.
Yay!
Mandy, how are you?
I'm great, Patrick. It's good to see you. You're so good at this. I've watched some of your episodes, and I'm so happy to be here.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you. It's so funny. I think we reconnected through, like Instagram or somewhere where you put a comment in, and you're so funny. It's like, do you remember me? It's like, of course I remember you. But we know each other, like I said, from pool parties, from the Melora Hardin. Now, Melora Hardin, if you don't know the name, she played Jan on The Office and, 1,000 other things. But we were all kids. I met her on Little House, and then she invited us, my brother and I, to her kind of like circle of friends, which included you.
Yes.
Right? Is that how we ended up knowing each other?
Yes, that's how I remember you. I was probably like 12 or like 11 or 12, 13.
Yeah.
Something like that, right? And
Yep.
part of why I remember you so well is because you were dating one of Melora's best friends. And so at that age, you're very aware of who everybody is like dating and all that kind of stuff. So I specifically remember that about you, outside of acting.
I
But
was
yes,
Lisa's boyfriend.
you were Lisa's boyfriend. And yeah. So Melora, Diane Hardin was Melora's mother. Diane Hardin was an acting teacher. I don't know if you went to
Right.
her. But she was.
I never did, but she's super talented, and a lot of people came out of her classes.
Totally.
Sure.
She was
You
my
being one of them.
first. Yeah, she was my first acting teacher, and such a great teacher. And then Melora and I became friends through that class, as well as Lisa and Stacey Dash, and
Right.
who else? Molly Ringwald was in it. Stephen Dorff. There were so
Wow.
many. Lucas Haas. So many people came out of that class. Elizabeth Berkley.
Out of those pool parties, I don't know if you remember her. I just ran into her, Janet Robin. Remember Janet?
I literally just ran into her as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It was so cool. A friend of mine invited me to some rock and roll thing where they teach kids rock and roll, kids, like people, everybody. And she was one of the teachers. And I was like, you may not remember me, but we went to pool. Again, it was all about the pool parties in the Valley.
Right. I know.
The Melora was the nexus for everybody. Act 1, beginnings. Okay, so Mandy, let's get to actually Mandy. So you end up at Diane Hardin's acting class, but why? You're baby, you're a kid. Why acting? How does that work?
Yeah. So, okay. So I was a very academic child. until the fourth grade when I went to this amazing school for experiential learning called MOBOC, which was a mobile school all around the city of Los Angeles. And so we would have like academics in different libraries, lunches in all the parks through the city. And then we would go on a minimum of 2 field trips a week. And so we explored the entire city. Yeah. So it really opened up my world. And one of the things that happened when I went there was I started doing musical solos and performances. And I got on a stage for the first time in the 4th grade. And once that happened, I had so much passion for it that I found a real acting class with real, working actors. And that was Young Actor Space in the Valley with Diane Hardin. And and so I really, really wanted to act so badly. But, at that time in the early 80s, there were no kids that looked like me on TV, right? Right. Jewish looking, basically, ethnic. Right. There, and I really I would have done anything I wanted to, oh my God, please let me do a McDonald's commercial. I would imagine myself, I would visualize myself, being an actor. And I just thought it was never going to happen. So I got discovered in Diane's class by Judy Savage first. I think Dana Hill came, her brother was in a class with me, and I think she told her manager about me, and then her manager came to see me. There were all these different things that converged. And so anyway, I found acting basically through school. And for me, it was like this place where it was a safe place to express myself, unlike my home life, which was a little bit intense. There was a lot of, family dynamics. And I think that my intensity and just being able to express myself on stage just felt like a really safe place for me. So that
makes a lot of sense. Especially we were just talking right before we started recording about how you were quiet and you didn't really talk about yourself and you downplayed yourself. And it's like, but that's not your performances. And that's what's so interesting about acting is a lot of people get to either, it's the old Kal-El Superman thing. Is he Superman? Is he Clark Kent or is he Kal-El? What are you, the actor on stage? Is that really you, or are you the person that's calm and not really showy? And acting allows, especially for kids who have that dominating type of home life where you're not able to speak up, that opportunity. Was that kind of what you're explaining?
Yeah, in a way. I mean, I did speak up in my family, but I think that I had very large emotions. This is what I've realized about myself as I've aged and understood myself better. I had large emotions. I felt very deeply, and acting in the stage and being able to express it through different roles was, it was like, yes, it was like parts of myself that needed to be set free, and also to be able to be angry, to be able to be sad, and have it be like a good thing instead of a really harsh thing. And also to have witnesses. I think that as an actor, when I get on a stage and I have witnesses to those feelings, it just feels safe to me. So it's almost like this really stepped back. It's almost like meditation. The audience is like the observer, and so there's like this observer part of yourself in meditation that I think is very similar to when you're acting. It's like you're doing this intentionally. And then because you're doing it from that place, you get to understand yourself better and also understand other people better. So for me, acting was a healing for me, like as a child too. Like it was something it saved my life, really. It was life or death.
Well, like you were saying though, I mean, and it was absolutely true. Ethnic, that's the word they always used. Oh, she's ethnic. Ethnic people, ethnic looking people, anyone basically, that had darker hair, any type of history to Eastern Europe was just like, oh, they're ethnic. But you end up, you mentioned the stage as well, but you end up doing Brighton Beach Memoirs, right?
Yes.
Is that, okay. So was that out of Los Angeles, or how did that happen where?
Yeah. So I literally would have done any job. And Little House on the Prairie to me was like, it was like I just wish I could be like those kids on Little House on the Prairie, like what, like if I could look like a kid like on Little House on the Prairie, the straight hair and the bangs and the freckles. And Shannon Doherty was in my class. She was, they all, you guys were all on that, and I could never get a part on Little House on the Prairie, but I just so happened to get this audition, and one day I was in Diane Harden's class afterwards, and she tells this story about how I got up on the stage, and I'm like, I just don't think that I'm ever going to work, and I might give up, and I was like upset, crying, and I was 14, and I just felt like I'd been trying so hard, and like there's just the roles weren't coming my way, and I got this audition for Brighton Beach Memoirs to meet with Neil Simon. And I actually replaced, there was this girl, Luann. Do you remember her? She did all the Oh God movies with George
Just
Burns.
Luann was her name, right?
Yes.
That was her yeah.
And she had red hair and bangs, and a little bob, and she was one of those kids. And they ended up firing her, and they were replacing her. And so I got Brighton Beach Memoirs in Los Angeles, even though it was a New York production. I was in the original company of the Broadway show. So
this is the Matthew Broderick version, or the Jonathan Silverman? Okay.
No, Matthew Broderick. It was the original company. So basically, I got this part. I mean, it was the first job I ever had.
It was huge. I auditioned when they went for the touring company with Jonathan. I auditioned for, I forget the guy's name, but the Matthew Broderick, Jonathan. What's the lead's name?
For Eugene? Eugene. Morris Jerome.
Yeah, I auditioned for Neil Simon for Eugene. And the only thing I remember about the audition is going, Neil Simon's a lot taller than I would have thought. He was a lot taller than I thought.
That's funny.
But this was a huge Broadway show. Mm-hmm. And now it was very popular at the time. It's a great play. And now you're in the midst of it, and you go to New York. Is that right?
Well, basically, it was an unknown play when I did it. So at first, basically, I was there for the inception, and that whole process of bringing a show to Broadway when it's an original play is that you go through. Like we started in L.A. at the Amundsen Theater. Which I had when I was a kid and I was in my school. I went on an audition on a field trip to the Amundsen, and I said to my teacher, I'm going to be on that stage one day. And then literally a year later. And so we opened it at the Amundsen. Then we went to San Francisco for 6 weeks, and then to New York and Broadway. And so it became it was a huge success. And so just having the experience of, working with Neil as he's rewriting the show, working with Gene Saks, who was this amazing director.
He directed me in a movie called Mame with Lucille Ball.
Oh yeah, Mame. I think he was in Mame. Wasn't he in Mame?
More than likely. I don't know much about him. I just know that he was my director, and I was like, it was 73, so Mame? I was really young. Yeah, it was
kid.
A movie.
I love
that. It was just a baby.
I remember Mame. I remember watching Mame when I was a kid, Sunday afternoon movies.
Right.
So that, it was just, I knew when I was in that experience, you're going to Sardi's and waiting for the reviews and opening night at Radio City Music Hall. And, that it was nominated for a lot of awards, Tonys. Yeah. And Matthew actually became famous as we were like that. That was really his breakthrough show. And War Games came out literally at the same time. So basically,
but Matthew's weird. Not that he's weird, but it's also at that point he was James Broderick's son. James Broderick is this great actor, and it was like, oh, he's the kid, and it's like Nepo baby, like they'd call it now.
Yes.
But it was obviously he was revelatory in that role. He was perfect for Eugene. You can see the movie, but when you're doing these plays on Broadway, this was a mystery to us actor kids in the Valley, which you started off as. What happens as far as like on sets? You go to school, you have a teacher. Do they have that for plays, or are you responsible for your own work? Different states have different rules. How does that work?
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a great question for young actors. Yes, it was the same, meaning you had to have 3 hours of academics on set. So I had the child labor laws still applied, where I had to have 3 hours of academics, and that was really frustrating for me because I went to this school for experiential learning where I basically would make a contract with my teachers, and I was able to do my academics whenever I wanted to. And all of a sudden I was having to sit in a room for 3 hours. There's not 3 hours of academic work to do. And especially while you're, my understudy, there was only one other person who was under 18, and that was my understudy, who was Pam Siegel. Her name was Pam Siegel at the time.
Oh my God, Pam was your understudy?
Yes.
She's Pam Adlon now, but she was Pam Siegel then, yeah.
Exactly. So Pam and I were the only kids under 18 years old, and it was really frustrating for me because I felt like it was a lot harder what I was doing than, say, what the other actors were doing, because I would have to focus for 3 hours on basically homework that I could do in 30 minutes and wait around and then go in for rehearsals. Like we would do rehearsals in the rehearsal hall on Beverly. It was next to the Beverly Hills Juice Company. And so we would do those rehearsals. And then when we moved to the Amundsen, we'd do rehearsals at the Amundsen. And then I had a tutor throughout with me in San Francisco. And then in New York, I actually, I did correspondence with my school. And then I had a private tutor come tutor me during the day, because once we go to New York, once you open, you're only going to do the show at night. You know what I mean?
So you're not technically could be going to a school during the day.
Exactly. Yeah. And so the way I did it was I did correspondence with my school in Los Angeles, and I had a tutor for math and Spanish.
And how long were you in New York? It was a big show.
Yeah, I was actually there until I was there. I was actually in New York for, I think, 6 months, 6 to 8 months. And then I came back to LA. So I left. Okay. I left at the same time. So who was in it? Joyce Van Patten played my mother. This girl Jodie Thalen, Matthew Broderick, Željko Ivanek, Elizabeth Franz, and Peter Michael Getz. And we were a very close cast, and it was great for me because it was like we were like a family. For some reason, we just were a really, really tight cast. Matthew actually, his father died during rehearsals in October, like when I had joined the play. It was a big time for a lot of us. My parents ended up splitting up during that. There was a lot going on.
Oh wow!
Behind, yeah.
So you're off and you do New York. You come back. I don't know exactly how big your experience was with Mr. Mom, but was that like the first project back here?
No, so randomly, I was thinking about this the other day. Weirdly got Mr. Mom while I was doing Brighton Beach, and I got cast, and they, for some reason, thought that I was over 18. Because oftentimes in acting, they will hire an 18-year-old to play a minor so that they don't have to do the child labor laws. And then I said, actually, no, I'm not 18. They hired me anyway. And they flew me from San Francisco to LA to film 2 scenes for one day on Mr. Mom. And it was almost like, I don't even know how that happened. I got Taft-Hartley because of that. So I got into SAG because of doing that part. And then I ended up, and Michael Keaton also coincidentally was really good friends with Joyce Van Patten and Dennis Dugan, who was her husband. So he kind of, I knew him through Brighton Beach. And then weirdly, when we came home from Brighton Beach, my mother became his personal assistant after my parents broke up because she all of a sudden needed a job. So that all kind of happened weirdly. But I ended up on the cutting room floor. So Mr. Mom ended up being the thing that got me into SAG. And they really went to a lot of effort to have me be in it, but I didn't end up being in it. So for whatever that's worth.
No, I mean, that's a great story to let people know that it's like, you never know in this business. And it's like you say, it gives and it takes all at the same time. It got you into SAG, but you're not in this movie. And it's on your resume, but it's not. But I did a movie. I was in Blazing Saddles, right? And I had 3 great scenes, and all of them were cut because they had way better scenes in the movie.
Right.
But it's like you're still there. You still have the experience. You still have all of the the experience that movie brought you.
Totally.
So when you're done,
yeah.
Go ahead.
No. I was going to say, I was still in like a John Hughes movie. I think it was like maybe his first movie that he wrote. It's like, you're still working with these people. Kind of doesn't matter which way it comes out is the truth, right? Ultimately.
Because the experience is real.
Yeah.
In fact, our experience on set is the only real thing that we get, because anytime we see ourselves in a rerun or a repeat, I don't know about you, I think about what it was like the day we shot it, not like when I'm watching a movie, oh, that's a great scene, that character. I just see my performance as, oh, I remember that day we had ice cream.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so you come back, you're back in the Valley, you're in your classes, and you work. You're doing all this work. You were in Charles in Charge, which was your first sitcom, right?
Yes.
Which I would imagine. Now, I've talked about this to the point where I'm sure that people who listen to more than one of these know I love sitcoms because it's the best of everything. You get a stage performance in front of an audience, and you get the benefit of having the chance to do it over again if it doesn't work. I don't remember. Was Charles a live audience, or was it 3-camera but shot traditionally?
No, yeah, it was a live audience. So yeah, coming back from, doing basically a year in Brighton Beach Memoirs, which is, 8 shows a week, every idol that I ever had came to see the performances, so it's like one of my co-stars became super famous. And so I have a lot of confidence at this point, and, I'm not overly impressed by anything, but I feel pretty confident. So I get a part on Charles in Charge, Chachi. And so I'm like, but it was great. It was my first television role. And I got cast as this weird girl, Enid, who is just this sort of outcast. And I remember, and that was when I got, I'm trying to think if I got emancipated during that time. I ended up being a recurring character on that show. Yeah. And I remember feeling very different from everybody else because I had my own scene, and it was like a slumber party. It was like a slumber party show, and it was like Christina Applegate. I think it was Christina Applegate's first job. Like this gymnast, that girl Natasha, whoever, who like wrote a letter to the president and then died in an airplane crash. That Russian girl. There were all these like different, there were all these different people, and I like had my own scene where I played this girl that's obsessed with horses, and I remember feeling not like everybody else. I think that's like a theme for me as like in general in life, but also as an actor, I'm not like everybody else, and thinking that was a hard thing. But the truth is, I think not being like everyone else was a good thing. It made me stand out.
Well, I was just about to say, I think I tell all my students, look, 1,000 people can read the same scene you're reading. The only thing that's going to make it different is not the words, it's you. It's what you put into it. On top of the fact that, like you say, you're unique. You're who you are as opposed to anybody else. And so that's the quality that people want to get. And I mean, Enid's a great example of that because I remember the character, and you want to talk about like long straight hair with bangs. That's all that show was. Even Scott had bangs. It was just like everyone was the same thing. So when you do Charles in Charge, that becomes popular. But then you do Detective in the House, which is like your first series, and you're working with Mino Palouse, and Judd Hirsch, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, and you were nominated for a Young Artist Award for this show as well. Mm-hmm. So you've done the Broadway, you've done a reoccurring on Charles in Charge, then you get this show, Detective in the House, which I just did a video about. People don't understand of like all the different levels. It's like you audition, then you go to producers, then you go to network, then you get do a pilot, then the pilot's picked up, then you do an episode, and then you do like 4 episodes before it's even on the air, and then it's on the air, it doesn't do well, and it's gone, and all of it doesn't matter anymore.
Right.
And you're like, what the hell happened? Yeah. So this show is kind of like that. It was like 6 or some episodes where it takes a long time to do that. What was that experience like for you?
Well, I loved, it was amazing. So on Charles and Charge, I actually, at that time, they wouldn't let you do like too many shows at one time. So I couldn't be a recurring character on Charles in Charge and do Detective in the House. So I kind of kind of chose to do Detective in the House and, to play Judd Hirsch's daughter, and I was a ballerina, and it was like, this, Judd Hirsch was an actor that I had watched on Taxi, like these were the shows that were making me want to be an actor. And so playing his daughter was incredible. He, obviously getting to know people in real life and work with people in real life who you've watched, that's another experience. But I loved doing that show because it was dramatic. It was a dramatic show. I hadn't done that before. Bill Bixby we had different directors. Bill Bixby was our director twice.
He's a wonderful director.
He was. I had this experience so it was the first time that I had to cry on cue. And I remember there was a scene where, I know what happened. So because I was such an amateur, when my coverage, we were doing the scene and I was over and over again doing the scene and crying, and it wasn't my coverage. And so by the time
you were burning yourself out and you're not on camera.
I was. Yeah. And so it came to my coverage, and I said I was having trouble pulling it out. And then I said to Bill Bixby, will you come over here? Will you come over here? And I just hugged him. And then after I hugged him, I just started weeping, and they were, and then, so they got it, but then we had to go one more time, and I was totally dry. And he said, well, let me hug you. I'm like, no, it's not going to work. And it's like, he said, just this. And I said, okay. And so we hugged, and it didn't work, but I just, anyway, I just really, really liked him. And Nino was a really great actor. He was very seasoned for that age. He played my brother, and he had been on a show, I think, his whole life. I don't remember what the show was, but it was with Lauren Green. Do you know what that show was?
I think he was on, his sister is Soleil Moon Frye.
Yeah.
And the story I heard about Mino, because I knew Mino, but I never heard this story from him, so I don't know if it's true or not, was that, his parents were very alternative, Soleil Moon Frye and Mino Palou. And apparently they let him name himself, and a monk asked him what his name was. He goes, do you have a name? And he goes, Mino. And that's where Mino comes from.
Perfect.
I don't know if that's true or not, but I hope it is, because that's a great story.
It is.
Going back to Judd Hirsch, you mentioned Taxi. Yeah. Unbelievably, huge fan of that show, of him. How was it? You said it was different to meet these people. Was it a positive experience, or was it like, no, it's okay? How was that go?
He was great to act with. I think that the show itself, coming off of Taxi and then being on a dramatic series where he had like a family and he was sort of like the leading man. I don't know. I think that it wasn't as good of a show as Taxi. So I'm working with this person who's on a show that's not as good as what he just did. So I think that there were probably things going on. There were things going on. Yeah, there were things going on that, you're just meeting a person who's trying to do good work, and you're working on a show that is ultimately not going to be successful. So but that's okay. I mean, I totally, I would always remind myself that it's not personal. I'd literally talk to myself before I would go into work, because I'm such a sensitive person. I'd be like, just remember, nothing is personal. Everybody has their own thing going on in their life. It's
so true.
Yeah. So I try to just be a good little codependent and just do my work.
We'll be back.
This Valentine's Day, celebrate the one you love the most with Hallmark cards at Walgreens. Valentine's Day is the best time to send your favorite person a reminder of just how much they mean to you. A Hallmark card is a super simple and beautiful way to say how grateful you are for the love you two share. Don't forget, Valentine's Day is Saturday, February 14th. Visit Walgreens today to find a Hallmark card that shows just how much you love them. Because love lives here.
After these messages, have you ever thought about becoming an actor and making your friends and family jealous? Well, have I got a deal for you. Here at Working Actors School, we offer many different classes so you can become a famous actor like me. And we have a delightful selection of classes, including Adult Weekly. It's every Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Pacific. Here you will learn how to be an actor with other adults. How do we do it? How is it possible? Is it a miracle? Yes, it is. It's a miracle called Zoom. We teach everything online so you can become a famous actor and impress your friends and family. So if you want to be a famous actor and make your friends and family jealous, then you need to sign up at Working Actors School. You can get a hold of us at workingactorschool.com. You can sign up for classes at workingactorschool.com. You can make a reservation for the class online at workingactorschool.com. So come check us out. It's workingactorschool.com. Act 2, Success. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about Cheers and the Tortellis. Cheers obviously started off slow, then it became this huge hit. It's one of the best shows ever made. The group of people on it, to this day, I still quote, Dan and Jean from, The Lovely Loretta, and, just all the great stuff.
Yeah.
How did you get involved with Cheers, and walk me through? Because I was going to ask, was the Tortellis a planted sitcom, or was it organic from your experience on Cheers? Did you get Cheers first and then they spun you off, or the other way?
Yeah. No, it started with Cheers.
Okay.
So basically, when I was, so like you just said, it was a slow starting show, but it was my father's favorite show. And it came out around the time just before I went to do Brighton Beach. And so when I was in New York doing Brighton Beach in 1983, I would listen to the Cheers theme song when it came on, and I would visualize myself playing Rhea Perlman's daughter. So I would visualize that. Then I totally forgot about that. Came back to LA, went to school.
I'm sorry, I got to stop you down. That's a super specific thing. Was it again for the you recognized that's a unique looking person and I look like her, or where did you get, why Rhea Perlman? Because
I was imagining, I wanted to be on Cheers. I love Cheers. My father's favorite show was Cheers. And I could imagine the role that I would play on Cheers would be, or could be, I could play Carla's daughter. And so so when that song would come on, I would just imagine that. And then 2 years later, I had, and there was one other time that I had a general meeting with somebody on the Paramount lot. And I remember walking on the Paramount lot and just being like, this is great. It's like a school campus. I was and when I was walking and I was like imagining myself on that campus, just like with my backpack. And anyway, so Cheers shot on Paramount. I got a call from Randy Stone, who was a casting director he was one of the original casting directors that loved me. He brought me in for the role of Carla's son's girlfriend.
Okay.
And it was supposed to be a little mini Carla. And so back then, he it was really, I was shy. I was just, I wasn't really, my natural demeanor wasn't like that wisecracking, that really wasn't my self.
That was not you.
It wasn't me, but he knew that I looked the part, and he gave me tapes of Rhea Perlman as Carla, and I watched them and I worked on it. And then I had that meeting with the Charles brothers and Jimmy Burrows. And I remember I remember what I was wearing, and I remember walking into the audition, and I remember just making this really bold choice because there was a scene where we're supposed to arm wrestle, which I'm not even sure made it into the episode. But in the audition, I just remember like throwing off my jacket and getting down. Like, I just remember like just taking the action. And, you know, I got the role. And I remember coming home, and at the time, do you know the casting director, Bernie Telsey? He's a big.
I know. I
he's a
don't.
big New York,
I know of him.
He's a big New York casting director, but he in Brighton Beach. He was Matthew's understudy for part of it in San Francisco, and we all became a very close cast. And my mother, because she had to be, you know, like on the set at that time, made really close friends with all the understudies. Bernie was staying at our house. He was in from New York, and I got the part, and I just remember him like screaming, you know, like we were just all so excited. Anyway, that was how I got Cheers, just a regular audition with the casting director that was my champion. And and you know, my first read through for Cheers, you know, that was Woody's first like week, basically. They shot 2 episodes that week. Shelley Long was out that week, and so they were doubling down on 2 episodes. And so I remember the table read. I remember Woody's first table read where he knew all of his lines. And it was like, you know, that was unheard of, you know, that to know all of your lines. Anyway, I remember that was very significant. And yeah, that cast, that show, to be on a show that's that successful as a guest. Again, it's that thing of you're coming in as a guest. And so you have to remember, okay, like, there's a million things going on. Everyone has their own. You're coming in as the new kid, as the outsider, you know. But they were a great cast to work with, and then from there, they spun off. They decided to make a spin-off. Of the characters, Dan Hedaya and Gene Kasem's characters, and then myself and Timothy Williams.
Who, by the way, I don't know what he did after that, but he was such a. You guys both were the perfect counterparts to Dan and Rhea, but without being carbon copies, in the sense of like he was such the perfect son for Nick, and you for, you know, a version of Carla, which, you know, you weren't related, but it was like, oh, he married his mom, where it's just like perfect. Before we get to the Tortellis, so you do the episode of Cheers. Mm-hmm. It's the beginning of must-see TV. It's kind of the proto that before they started advertising it, but it's a huge show. Did you know that episode was going to be more than one when you did it, or just I got a part on Cheers and then okay, so you didn't know. So what happens when they call you back? How did they do that? Did they just say, we want you to come back and play her again?
You know what? I think that what happened shortly thereafter was that the Tortellis happened. So I did Cheers when I was 17. Then they immediately wanted to do a spinoff, and we did the pilot for the spinoff right next door to the, you know, same campus, like the studio right next to the Cheers studio, and
This is just for me personally. Do you remember the stages you were at?
I can't remember if it's 23, 24, something like that. I think
over in the top corner near the
right across from Family Ties. Like there's that courtyard on the lot, and I think 23, 24, but I can't totally remember because
this is pretty not unheard of. You're not old. Pretty unheard of in the sense of doing one episode for an actor and then finding out, oh, we're not bringing you back. You're getting your own show.
Yeah.
And now you've just skipped all of the things we talked about on the other show, which is you don't have to read for the network. You still have to negotiate your deal, which is like, oh, it's so tense. But you're going to go do the Tortellis, which is a great idea. It was a good show. Steinkellner's, I did another show for them later. I just loved them.
They were great.
And you got all these great writers, and Dan and Gene and Timothy. So,
and
what was it like?
Watkins, a woman named Carlina Watkins, who was married to Ed. He was another huge sitcom guy who I actually never worked with, but Ed, he was another one of those Mary Tyler Moore people. Why can't I remember his name right now?
Oh, I know who you're thinking of. He wanders down the hall rubbing his head in his production card. And not Ed Brubaker, Ed. I know who you're talking about.
He's a big one of those big,
Yeah.
Rhoda, Mary Tyler Moore. Those were the other people that I sort of worked.
So you've worked with Neil Simon and all the people that created Mary Tyler Moore and Cheers. I mean, these are like legends.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
and Taxi.
I know.
Ed Weinberg.
I was so lucky.
Ed Weinberg.
Ed Weinberg. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've asked too many questions all at once. Walk us through how the Tortellis kind of became what it was and your experience on it.
Okay. So the Tortellis. So I don't know. It just all seemed so organic. So yeah. So then we're doing the Tortellis and we're doing this 13 episodes. We were fortunate enough to have some of the original cast of Cheers come and do our first episode. James Burrows directed our first episode. So we had Rhea, George Wendt, John Ratzenberger all guesting on that first episode. Pat Nardo was the producer. So she was a totally new person. And Pat Nardo actually was, I believe, Rhoda. She was like the Rhoda writer, and Mary Tyler Moore. They all worked on these shows, and she was also my champion. She loved me, and so we had this show that was, obviously it had a lot of juice around it, and I kind of feel like I think that we did the pilot and it didn't get picked up. Well, what happened? I can't remember what exactly happened, but I feel like it didn't. I can't remember if it didn't get picked up right away. And so the Charles brothers, they were very I felt like I was very in touch with them, and they were saying like, look, we're gonna pitch it to other places. So they did. Wow. And so it ended up getting dragged out for a longer period of time, and 13 episodes ended up turning into kind of like a year and a half or 2 years, which
is a long time.
Which
Usually
is a long time.
24 episode would take 8 to 9 months.
Now I think
that's a long time.
Exactly. Now I think that it's a little different because I think that people do shows and then they're gone for a long, like the Larry David thing, right? People leave and come back, but at that time that was really unusual. So it ended up stretching out over a longer period of time, and then when it didn't. So then I think when we first aired, and Cheers, everybody that watched Cheers, like when you're on an episode of Cheers, 55 million people are seeing it. So it was a different level of recognition back then, when you're on a show. So the first episode for sure, I think that they aired it right after Cheers, and we got, of course, we were in the top 10. I don't remember what we were, but then they ended up putting us on opposite Dynasty. I think something like that. And we ended up getting killed. And I think the lore was that at that time, an anti-hero wasn't something that people were open to back then in the 80s and the late 80s. But I'm not sure that was it. Somehow but it was a very fun show to do. I mean,
it was a great show to watch. I loved the Tortellis. And like I said, everybody was like firing on all cylinders. It's the same old story. If you had, whatever numbers you were getting then would be number one show numbers now.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like, yes, you didn't move forward after that first season, but like I'm sure millions and 20 million plus people were watching. Yeah. And it's like, I wish we could have done better.
But it's funny. I remember, I remember people being really worried about getting picked up again, oh, we're going to get picked up. Is it going to be this? And I said, and I remember saying, I think to Dan Hedaya, what difference does it make if we get picked up? We're just going to be doing this. So why don't we just enjoy what we're doing? Right. That was my philosophy, at the time. That it's like everybody's always looking to the next thing, and it's like, why don't we just appreciate what we have in the moment? So,
well, I think if any actors out there listening to that, that's super helpful, because there is a philosophy, not a philosophy, but a belief or an emotion where as soon as you get a part, you have that week where you're ecstatic, and then you start worrying about, well, when this ends, I got to get another job. That's one of the things about being an actor, which is difficult. And when you're a guy like, Nick Hedaya,
Dan Hedaya.
Dan Hedaya played Nick Tortelli.
Yeah.
When you're a guy like that who's been playing the character on Cheers, and this is the shot, it's like he's looking at, I could have a sweet, sweet gig for a number of years, missing the whole point of like, you got that sweet, sweet gig right now, and that is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So you go through this, and then you find out. How did you find out that you guys weren't moving forward? Was it like a big deal, or was it just sort of like petered off?
It was watching the Tortellis fall apart was like watching my parents' marriage end. You know what I mean? It's like, you know that it's coming. It's like you're just watching this. We stopped having audiences, I think, like towards the last 3 or 4 episodes, and there was a lot of, there was a lot of conflict, as I experienced a lot when shows are not doing well and the actors are really good with really high hopes. Like Dan Hedaya is an amazing actor, and that character of Nick Tortelli it's one of the great seedy characters, and he was I think the pressure was a lot for him. I think that so there was a lot going on for him, and so it wasn't a huge surprise when it didn't get picked up. But what was really nice was that when we found out that it wasn't going to get picked up, they shared with me that, they were going to bring our characters, Timothy and my character, back to Cheers. So we went right from finishing Tortellis to going back to Cheers. I think in season 6 or 7, I can't remember. I'd been in season 4, and then I think we went back in season 6 or 7.
Which by that time, Kirsty was on.
Mm-hmm.
I love Kirsty. Kirsty and I did 2 movies together, and she's a chaos monster who was absolutely delightful.
Yeah, I loved her.
What was your, because I wasn't there, people listening weren't there. What was your favorite thing about Cheers and going and working at Cheers?
Oh my God, there were so many great things about it. Well, first of all, also something I really loved about the Tortellis was that I used to ride my bicycle to work. So I would ride my bicycle from my apartment on Hayworth and Fountain to the Paramount Studios, which I can't believe I did that now. That seems crazy to me, especially knowing
Fountain is the most dangerous street in town.
And I am not the most aware, bicycle rider in my bandeau top and my short, my bicycle shorts and my, leather, hat called Houdini. But anyway, I love Paramount. I love the cast members. It was a real fun set, but the writing, just being able to be a part of that, just every episode, just the writing was amazing. So I loved being a part of that. I loved, Tuesday nights when we would shoot, it was the performance of it. And there were so many wonderful things about being on Cheers. I really loved it. I loved the show. So it was just so fun to be able to be a part of it, to be a part of. And they were very, very inclusive. I felt very loved and appreciated there.
I think it's a wonderful experience, though, because I've had the experience, as I'm sure you have, where you work on a show and it's just not a friendly place, or you work on a show where the people are happy and it's a different thing. And you talk about the writing. One of the great things, and I don't think I've talked too much about this, when you have good writing, why actors always love the writing is, yes, we have talent and we're bringing a character to life and we're doing all the things that you get to see, but if you're given a script where some of the best writers ever have been sitting in a room coming up with the best jokes ever, and all you have to do is read it in character, it's so different than when you get a script where it's like, this doesn't make sense. This isn't funny. And how do I do this? So, yeah, working on Cheers, it's like... Surprising you should say that. Let's talk about Teen Witch. Okay, so Teen Witch, this classic movie from our childhood. You're with Robin Lively, Dan Gaudier, who again I'd worked with. We hired him for C-Dad Run. I love Dan. And Noah Blake, who was like, we hung out a lot in the 80s back then. You do this movie. They have this scene where Noah is dancing to you, with you, at you, called Top That. Let's talk about Teen Witch and that particular scene and what happened? What was that all about?
Okay, so we want to talk about that scene. Well, okay, so all of these jobs are kind of like Cheers is also happening. You know, like I'm doing Cheers at the same time as I'm doing all these other jobs because I'm this recurring character on Cheers. And so I'm on My Sister Sam recurring. I'm on Cheers recurring. I think I can't remember if Dirty Dancing was before or after Teen Witch, but whatever. I was on that as a series regular. That was with Melora, blah, blah, blah. But so all these shows are happening. And to me, this is like it's almost like my college, right? So these are my classes, right? These are my different, these are my different classes. So I read for Say Anything and did not get it. I read for the Lily Taylor role in Say Anything, and I really wanted it, and I came close. And I read
for Lloyd Dobler, didn't get it.
Yeah.
Could have been me and you, kid.
Yeah. No, but I really thought I was going to get it. You know what I mean? Like I was like, I felt that. So, and I was disappointed. It's probably the last acting role I didn't get that I was disappointed by. So along comes Teen Witch, some random whatever, and I end up getting Teen Witch, you know, the consolation prize. So, you know, Teen Witch is a super low budget, whatever. It's a whatever. I'm doing all these amazing, you know, like I'm working with all these great people, and I, you know, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking how great I am, and I'm doing this really low budget movie that's probably just going to go to cable.
I would back you up on that. You look at all the people we've talked about, and then Teen Witch, which was of a time when they did teen movies. Oh, it's a teen movie. I'll do this in 6 weeks, and then I'll be done, and I'll get back to what I was doing before.
Right. So I get cast in this movie, and I'm like, whatever. It's just going to go to, and then they decide to do reshoots. In the reshoots, they say, oh, you know, we have this new thing that you're going to do this rap. And I'm like, what? You know, first of all, I don't remember thinking that, like, my character is not thinking that she has a crush on Noah's character the entire time that I've been filming. What are you talking about? I'm going to do a rap. And oh my God. So we do this rap. I know what I think of it. And then I'm like, whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm going to just throw down, and no one will ever see it. It's going to go straight to cable, and it'll be gone. And so it totally, like, from it opens. I go to see it with my friends Talia and Mimi in a movie theater in Hollywood with literally, we are the only 3 people in there and like a homeless person watching the movie. It is what it is. And it disappears until a year or something later, Disney Channel buys it, I guess. I got rid of my television because for me, it was like TV was like Facebook. I just didn't want to know. I didn't want to see my friends. I didn't want to see this person that didn't call me back, or this person who screwed me over, or these 2 people together. And all of a sudden, like, people start telling me that they're seeing this, and I'm like, oh my God, they're showing this over and over and over and over again on Disney Channel. And I'm like mortified, right? Then I got some kind of a buyout, $5,000 or something, before I was going to Europe. And I was like, I'll take it. That's great. I'll take the $5,000 before I go to Europe. And then I'm like, all right with it. And then it turns out that it's just the gift that keeps on giving. You know, the internet happens. It's like, it just doesn't go away. And and so now people keep finding Top That, basically. And
well, it's a classic. I mean, it was a meme before there was a meme. culture where it's just sort of like, and I think both you and Noah escape from the cringiness of it because what I understand from Noah is that, well, no, because you guys went all in on it. If there was a sense of like disdain, it wouldn't be as fun to watch. Because you guys are both into it and it's ridiculous, that to me is what makes it fun for the viewer.
Right.
But I cannot imagine being the performer and having to do like something that you know is bad. Sorry, but just bad.
Well, you know what? It's I always say is that so I've gotten to do all these like really amazing things, and I've also gotten to be part of some campy cult classic.
Right.
And I also feel like, you know how in poker, like I won the low hand also. Because it's kind of
right, yeah.
So that's how I like to frame it for myself. It's kind of true, also, and
I mean, you just worked with Jimmy Burrows. I mean, for Christ's sakes, it's like it's insane.
Dorian Walker was no Jimmy Burrows, that's for sure. But I also didn't trust him either. I was like, I feel like I eye rolled that director more than I've done to any director in my life. You know, like I didn't have a lot of humility there, and I was 21 years old when I did that. So I had a little attitude. I
did a movie called Terminal Entry. So I hear you. You. Going backwards or forwards or at the same time. So you and Melora had been friends forever, but you end up doing Dirty Dancing. And to that whole thing about ethnic, Melora is like, it's like you're a better baby than Melora. What the hell was that all about?
Well, I think that what happened there was that they ended up writing my character in because Melora was so, like sort of white bread, I guess. They needed like a Jewy kind of character, so they invented her cousin that wasn't in the actual Dirty Dancing movie, so that they could have someone that was a little ethnic. So that was
It's like because Melora gets a call from Wonder Bread going, "Yeah, you're whiter than we are at this point."
Yeah.
And you got Patrick Cassidy and Paul Feig. What was that? I mean, Paul Feig is this great director. He directed Bridesmaids and like just a huge amount of comedy, but he was an actor.
Yes.
What was that all about? I mean, what was that like?
He was just an actor. He was just another actor, just like all the, just like Matthew or whoever, just like all the, famous people that I know. Everyone's just your peer. He was just another actor, and he was funny. He played it was supposed to be like the Catskills, like Gross Singers, and so he played like a stand-up comic. So I think that's probably it all goes together. He was great. I mean, Paul was great.
So aside from all the weirdness with, and again, Melora was dynamite. Melora's been dancing since she was a kid, you're a dancer. All of these different things coalesce, but it's Dirty Dancing. Oh, you're not? I thought you said you'd taken ballet. I guess you were Judd Hirsch's.
I played a ballet. Yeah, I played a dancer on TV. I've played a dancer on TV. So.
Got it. You played a dancer. Exactly. But it's also like this huge movie. Like people, I don't know if you remember. I know you do. But like the movie itself was like a phenomenon. That's why they do a TV show.
Yes.
What was it like being in a TV show? And immediately, I'm sure, direct comparisons to it. Did you catch any strays, or was it just sort of like it was good for the show? Or it seems like you just kind of concentrate on the moment, which is kind of good too.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think it's helpful that my character was not a character that's in the movie, so I didn't have anything to live up to. And it was all the same. So that was Steve Tisch. He was the producer and directed a couple of the episodes. A lot of the the entire Dirty Dancing team, like Kenny Ortega, who was their dance director. Kenny Ortega was on Dirty Dancing, and all the dancers were also on it. So in a way, it was a continuation of that culture.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So I think that was great for them. And yeah, I mean, I think that it was a time. It was a time when they were doing series based on some movies, and not all of them did. A lot of them didn't take.
Right.
So
Working Girl, they did a bunch of different,
Ferris Bueller, they did a lot of them, and not all of them were, not all of them were successful. Again, I think I go by the thing of like, when I'm doing the work, I'm just doing the work, and I'm not trying to live up to anything else or wish that it was something else. I take it for what it is,
Any thoughts when you were on Teen Witch about calling Kenny Ortega and saying, "Hey, I need you down here now"?
No, I never had that thought. I didn't. It was so quick, It's almost like, It was like, did that just happen?
Like an accident.
It was like.
We'll be back after these messages. Hey there, I'm Patrick Labyorteaux, and I've been an actor since I was a little kid. So I know what it's like to be a little kid actor. So I have a class here called Youth Weekly, and that meets every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Pacific, and it is an awesome class if you are young and want to learn all about acting. We have a great set of kids, and it's taught on Zoom, so you can do it from anywhere. You can do it on your phone, you can do it on your laptop, on an iPad. It's awesome. I've had kids take a class while they were in the car coming back from soccer practice. I swear to you. So if acting is in your blood, come to workingactorschool.com and check out the Youth Weekly class every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Pacific. I'll see you there. Act 3, present day. But let's get to what is like kind of like your huge part of your world now is yoga. When does yoga come into your world, and how do you create this world-dominating yogalosophy ideal? You're a best-selling best-selling author. You got DVDs, and you've got a client list that's as long as my arm. How did that all happen?
It's all organic. I mean, in my childhood, it's kind of like my childhood. Everything happened all at once. And my father got really into yoga in the 70s. And so I was raised on yoga. It's like I've been doing yoga longer than I've been acting. Wow. And yoga was sort of like not the very next thing after acting. I taught spinning, and I became a very So during my whole acting career, I will just say in the background, I have an eating disorder. So in the background of my acting, I have like this eating disorder thread going through the entire thing. And I was an over-exerciser, like 3 to 8 hours a day. And, so there's this whole thing going on underneath the surface. And so what ends up happening in my early 20s, I continued to study and to act and all of that, but I also am healing and shifting. And what I end up doing is I end up becoming a spinning instructor. So that ends up happening, and I end up becoming, sort of being this like all these celebrities are coming to my class, like my spinning class. Right. Helen Hunt so I know a lot of celebrities because of working with a lot of different people, and I know these people as my friends. So I met Helen through Matthew Broderick. Helen is in my spinning classes. Kira Sedgwick and Kevin Bacon, whatever. All these different like celebrities are in my class, right? So that's happening. So what ends up happening is I realize at a certain point, no matter how much I work, it's not enough. It's not enough. If I go back to working even as much as I was working before, it's not enough for me. I need to have something that I'm responsible to on a daily basis. Right. And I start looking for what I can do. And so I end up teaching spinning. I start teaching spinning, and this becomes like a whole other like version of myself. And it's very creative because what happens is I end up creating the Mandy character, like my best self character. And I basically tell story through my teaching. So I have a moment before, I have a place that we're going, and I have an arc that we're going through in each class. So I'm bringing people through this, and in the background, I'm telling story through music, but I'm also telling my personal stories, and also my day-to-day is in there. And somehow like this combination of the way that I'm teaching attracts, and I'm a good teacher, and I'm an ass kicker because I had an eating disorder. And what they don't understand is that for as for as easy, for as hard, as much as I'm doing, it's easy for me because I used to over exercise all the time. So it's like I'm just able to knock these classes out effortlessly, but also take people through a journey. And I'm in a healing journey myself. So sharing with others and taking other people through this self-love process, because that is what I'm doing, is I'm framing sensation, and I'm imbuing the class with a lot of self-love. And so it ends up.
I never would have made the connection, but you're storytelling. You're doing the same thing, but in a different format. Yeah.
I'm doing the same thing, but I'm telling it from my perspective, and I'm telling my story. And so suddenly I am no longer at the mercy of what another person thinks that a person who looks like me is feeling and experiencing. I then become the author of my own story, and I share like the real journey, from within. And that's what starts happening.
Well, I think it sounds like you ended up being successful was because that you were authentic. And there's one thing that people in this town can recognize, it's being authentic, whether they are or not. Because everyone seems to have like a version that they present. When you're authentic, I think people relate to that or are gravitated to that.
Yes.
And so I think that probably had a lot to do with it too.
I think that authenticity has probably been the secret sauce to all of it for me. I think that as an actor, I was authentic. I was always known to not you have a special quality is what people would say. And I think it's just simply that I was never I was never a mugger. I didn't perform I was not like that kind of person with like a lot of pizzazz, that's just not me. And so I think that authenticity is certainly like an ingredient of who I am. Integrity and authenticity for, love me or hate me. One thing that I think people believe me. And also because I was an actor, before many of these very famous people that I work with were actors, I didn't become like an instructor in order to be famous or to meet famous people. Like that wasn't my plan. It's just kind of what happened. So it was never my intention really even to be an instructor. It just happened organically. And so what ended up happening was after spinning, so while I was teaching spinning, I decided to take a yoga teacher's training, even though I was already practicing yoga for decades before that, before there were teacher trainings. But I just thought, I'll just have one more thing in my hip pocket or whatever. And it wasn't really my intention to start teaching yoga, but right after my father passed away, and my father was the original yoga practitioner of my life, and obviously my obsession, because I have talked about my father more than once during this, and we've only been talking for an hour. Clearly there was a lot to work out there, but I became, I always wanted to understand my father better, and so I would assume the position. I would try and emphasize, the yoga, and then after he passed, it's almost like he came in from the other side and like presented me with all these opportunities, because it really came from like several different directions. As did
he Obi-Wan Kenobi'd you.
He did. And so one of the places that where that came from was Jennifer Aniston, who was a friend of mine, who I did meet in the early 90s through my friend Kim Walker, who was one of the Heathers, who passed away. So anyway, when Jen and Brad were going through a divorce, and I was friends with them already. She, I offer, they always wanted me to teach them spinning, and I didn't want to be on the payroll, because I had my own spinning thing going on. I didn't want to, like sort of, I didn't want to make a peanut butter cup at that time. I just wanted to have everything separate. But when they went through the divorce and I was now teaching yoga, I was like, I am teaching yoga now, so I would do that with you. And it was not my expectation that she would be into it. And it turned out that it just really helped her a lot, and she really loved it. And so once she got on board, she has this like special, she's like magic. I mean, I know so many famous people, and I've seen so many people become famous as I have her. And she's just one of these people who, she's more famous than the most famous person. Like the amount of paparazzi around her is always more. Like she sells more magazine covers than anyone. It's like, it's just something about her. And even before she was famous, I know this even before I knew her in high school, she always just had something special. Like people revolved around her. She had friends that revolved around her. She's just that kind of person. So once she started talking about me, and she said, I want to talk about you to Entertainment Tonight. I was like, she's like, well, whenever you're ready. And then she mentioned me to Vogue magazine one time, and then after that, it was just like, it just exploded. And we did a spread together in Self magazine, and anyway, so that set me off on this becoming public. But I had also, I had really stepped back from being public in part because Rebecca Schaefer, who was on My Sister Sam,
was murdered.
She was murdered by a stalker, one of her fans. And so I was on My Sister Sam. I was a recurring character on that show. Yeah. And I played Mandy, who was her best friend, and we were good friends. And it just, when that happened, I was like, what am I doing? Do I really want to be seen this much? Aside from other things, other reasons too. Right. But that was something that really... To
be that close to such a tragedy and have it be connected to literally what you're doing. Yeah, you have questions. Visible.
So yeah. I have a visibility issue. I still have it, So I had to do a lot of internal work on visibility, that in order to go to the next place. But I did it, and then again, organically, it was just like, it's another aspect of me. Like you said before we started talking, I think on this podcast, you said, my internet personality is one part of me. And, right. And so I think that with teaching, suddenly it was like the motivational speaker in me, the storyteller in me, like my real perspective, things I didn't do as an actor. I never did create my own. And so this was where I created my own. And I actually became more successful in my teaching and being public teaching, and on every level. I mean, like being a businesswoman, an entrepreneur, as a woman, working in the industry, I used to take it personally, like that I didn't get paid as much as other people, but I realized that really was about being female. And as an instructor, I've always made great money. I do my own negotiations, a lot of my employers are female. And so that was a whole other aspect to my self, my public self.
It seems there's a strong spine of control in your life, because eating disorders are all about control, having control. And acting is the ridiculously opposite of that, in the sense of whether you're getting the job or not, which again, if you listen to what you're talking about, you're focusing on the work, which is what you do control. You didn't really talk about parts you lost or didn't get, because that's out of your control. So I get that, and it seems very except say anything. But it's a very interesting world that you live in now, because like you said, it's with this show, it's like what I love about doing this is every single choice is mine. I don't really care if people like it or not. I hope they like it, but I'm not pandering to get somebody. I don't do something so that people will like me in the same way that you're kind of describing, the Yogalosophy of what you're doing, which is you're sharing your stories.
Right. And then, so that was another chapter. And then, now I'm in a new chapter, so I think it just keeps evolving. And you're right, control is definitely, I think really what I try to control is, my large emotions. I'm a very sensitive person, and I feel deeply and I feel a lot. And
do you control your emotions, or are you trying to protect your emotions?
I think that, I think that we can distill it down to that I was trying to. There were two things that were going on. I'm a big feeler, and so at first, with acting, it was a place for me. It saved my life because it was a place for me to be able to express that and have it be like a positive thing. And the eating disorder was an offshoot of like managing my feelings. Like that was how I was managing it.
Yep.
And then in terms of like this being like a businesswoman and all that kind of stuff, I think that, I think that taking authority over your decisions, I think that it's important. It's important to know all the aspects of ourselves. So I don't know. Yeah. I mean, it's like an ongoing, I don't know about you. I mean, I'm 50, I'm going to be 58 on the 11th.
Happy birthday.
And I don't think I will ever be cooked. Like I don't know it all.
Oh, I hope not.
You know?
I mean, if I'm the same guy that I was 20 years ago, it's like, how boring would that be?
Yeah. And I don't know how much I know now. Like I don't know
Right.
I don't know how much I know now. I'm still working on it. I mean, there are things that I didn't do in my life that people say no regrets, but you know what? It's not that I have regrets, but you can't live every life in one lifetime. And I certainly have things that I missed,
Yeah. It's like Sliding Doors, that movie, the Gwenny movie. It's just, you don't know what's going to happen. I got to ask this because I think everybody wants to know. But it's interesting because you've created such a good understanding of your relationship with Jennifer Aniston that it's like, it's a girlfriend of yours. That's all it is. That's all she is. But she's also Jennifer Aniston. I got to want to know, what is it like when a person in your life who is just a person in your life, because she's not Jennifer Aniston to you, she's whatever you call her, she's Jen or whatever. What is it like when, because I do the research and, I Google you and there's all these articles, and then there's a bunch of articles. It's like when Jennifer has a breakup with a boyfriend, her and her girlfriends, and you're mentioned in this article, right? What is it like to be around somebody like that where, and again, I'm not asking you about Jen, I'm asking you about the experience. How weird is that? What is it like to be around somebody who's literally world famous like that?
Well, so like I said, my first experience at age 14 was watching, Matthew Broderick become famous. And so and after that, Woody Harrelson, and I have a lot of people in my life who that's happened to. And something, I think it's no different than you're in high school, and I don't know this because I haven't gone to this kind of a high school, but like there's a really popular like cheerleader or like a really popular football player, and those, it's like people that but don't know. Like and it's just that. It's just there are some people in the world that everybody knows, but they don't know them. And they think whatever they think about those people. And maybe it's partly true. Maybe it's totally true. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just you have an opinion about it. But I just kind of have, what it's made me do? It's made me compartmentalize a lot. Like I don't talk a lot about stuff. But I think that's sort of the way that I am anyway. I was always a down player, and I think I just keep my mouth shut, And there's a lot of things.
But I guess where I'm heading with this, and it's not, again, this is not a gotcha podcast.
I hear you.
I can imagine, I mean, it's got to be weird that, can you go to Starbucks with your friend?
Oh.
Or is it like, do you have to like plan out stuff to get away from people? Or like, it's just got to be weird. Like you just can't have a conversation.
I see. Yeah. So, what I would say about that is it's like being friends with like Mickey Mouse at Disneyland. It's like, it doesn't really do much, but like if you need to find somebody at a restaurant, you could call and go, okay, do you see Goofy in the room? Because, or like if you're in a room and you're looking for the person, there's like a swarm around them, you kind of know, oh, that's where they are. So I think on some level, it's actually, it's almost like it's kind of a handicap in a way. I mean, I think there are good things about it, but it's also like it's a handicap. It's like being a character at Disneyland. But but also, yeah, I mean, like there's things that like I can't like there's certain times it's like you can't do everything as freely, but I also feel bad for, and it's different for each person. Like there are certain people that I know who just they live their life. And then there are other people who maybe can't, who are like going underneath the hotels, through the restaurant, through the, there's all different versions of it. And
we used to live up near the Beverly Glen Center in Beverly Glen, and it was I think it was not Britney Spears was there, and Britney Spears came in, and it's a small little parking area. It's like it's a corner lot. It's nothing, and like she drove in, and like 15 other cars followed her in, and were like spinning around the parking lot, and it was like dangerous, wrong, like offensive, like it was like she was being attacked 24/7. But that's I'll probably cut this part out. But it was just like that whole idea of like it just seems too much.
Well, during like the Brad Pitt, I will share this with you. You don't have to, but during like the Brad Pitt divorce, so we like flew. I mean, we flew together, many times. It was impossible during that time. I mean, it was impossible. And coming to the airport, like just like it was like Beatles, it was, I mean, she really has that. But and I will also share. So Helen Hunt was like my best, one of my best friends, but one of my best friends, like when she and Hank got divorced, and the paparazzi came to one of my, like the paparazzi followed us around, and basically it came out that they were doing a huge story in the tabloids about that we were lovers, and a paparazzi literally came into my class like before I was about to teach, and I walked, and so I've been like personally violated, in that way, and then like, huge story on the cover of like the Inquirer or whatever of me and Helen, and it was, luckily I had a boyfriend, because my grandparents would have been really confused. And my mom's like, look, like this, there's a picture of us, and there were pictures of us like embracing, and
right. She's your girlfriend.
Right. But like when I saw the pictures, I was like, yeah. When I saw the pictures, I was like, wow, we really are so affectionate with each other. But I didn't know that it looked like that. But my mom like said to my grandparents, yeah, but whose shoes are those like in the corner? And they were like my boyfriend's shoes, but anyway, so there's all that stuff.
We'll be back after these messages. Hey, I'm Patrick Labyorteaux, and I play an actor on TV, and I've been doing this for a long, long time. And I know what it's like if you are in a class with people, and sometimes you just want to have that one-on-one connection with the person that you're working with to go over, I don't know, a particular scene, or maybe you have an audition, or maybe you just want the privacy to try stuff that you don't really know is going to work and not have anyone look at you. Well, I have the perfect solution for you. It's called One-on-One with Patrick Labyorteaux. You can book your time at workingactorsschool.com, and it's just me and you for an hour going over whatever it is you want to work on, breaking down the script, talking about character, figuring out your intention, the spine of the scene, everything that goes in to making a dynamite performance. So if you're interested in acting and want that one-on-one personal attention, check out One-on-One with Patrick Labyorteaux. You can find all the information you need at workingactorsschool.com. Act 4, questions. Okay, so we're at the questions now. Here at the end of the show, we're going to ask you the questions. Okay. First one, these are called Tina's Gotta Know. My wife came up with these questions. The first question is, that's showbiz. What would you say is the most Hollywood moment in your life?
Oh, I'm freezing up. The most Hollywood moment. Oh, okay. I will. I'll say this moment. So I was going to Jennifer Aniston's 50th, and I was I had been in a major car accident. I was like, oh, how am I going to get it up for this? So I was like, I got it up. I managed to like piece myself together. Like literally had been 4 months of like not being able to open a window. And so I arrive, I Uber there, and I walk into, I think it was the Tower Bar. And I'm walking into the back, and as I'm walking in, so is Keith Richards. And they're like stopping me, like, wait, don't come in the back way. And I was like, oh, sorry, Anyway, then Keith went in, and then I went in the front way. But that was pretty Hollywood,
At the Tower Bar, running into Keith Richards and
right. Dreading like, and then going, and then Keith Richards. Okay, well, we're not going to get more than that.
Okay, number 2, that's Showbiz Part 2. What's the most embarrassing Hollywood moment in your life?
I think Top That is the most embarrassing.
Can't top that. Got it.
Can't top that.
Number 3, show me the money. What is your biggest missed financial opportunity? Don't have to have real numbers. Just like in this town, you run into people and sometimes you get options and you just don't take them.
I mean, I don't know that I've had a missed financial opportunity, but I've done. You mentioned earlier about going to network, and they've not come up with the right money for me before, and so I've not gone to network.
That's difficult. And just so people understand, when you go to network, what they do is it means the network is auditioning you. They bring in 2 or 3 people for a role. And you have to set your deal. You have to come in with a set deal, because if they fall in love with the actor and the actor has the leverage, then they can demand whatever they want, and the network doesn't want that. So they want to know what they're going to be paying this person. And you're saying that sometimes when you've gone to network, you say, my number is X, and they go, we don't want to pay X for this role. And then you just you wouldn't go in.
No one.
That's frustrating.
Nah,
yeah.
Nah. I leave money on the table if I don't care. I'm good.
That's good. That's good for your soul. Number 4, show and tell as a teenager. What was your favorite poster in your room, and how'd you get it?
My favorite poster was my life-sized, door-sized Sean Cassidy poster. I think he's wearing Sean Cassidy. That was my pre-Tony Geary days. But yeah. And how did I get it? I probably got it at Poster Mat in Westwood.
So Sean Cassidy, Patrick's brother, you're working with Patrick. Was there any residual Sean smolder going on where you wanted him to come to the set?
I was also in acting class with Ryan Cassidy. So I have experience.
Wow,
I cover the
you're
Cassidy
smothered
boys.
in Cassidys.
I am. Who isn't? So no, I think that Sean Cassidy was like fully just my preteen.
Fair.
Yeah.
I mean, he was dreamboat.
He was dreamboat for any 10-year-old or 11-year-old.
Number 5, showdown. Okay, acting wise, what's the best thing you've ever did and the worst thing you've ever did?
Well, I think we covered it here. I mean, Brighton Beach or Cheers, would be the best. And the worst would, I mean, I'm not going to, let's see, there's probably a worse one than I mean, let's just we may as well just stick with, what's winning.
Gotcha. Okay, number 6, no show. And I think we talked about this. What part did you want but didn't get? Say anything?
Say anything. And then, say anything was the
Now, I remember I got to read for that. And in my room, Jack Black was in the room and a couple other people were in the room waiting to go in. And I got to read with Cameron and talk with him. Yeah. I remember him being amazing. But again, I was just very, very quick for me. You had a much deeper, probably a bigger process. How was your connection with Cameron Crowe?
It was great. I loved him. I guess it was early days for him too, huh?
Yeah. So he had just written Fast Times, and I think that this was his first directorial.
He was great, and I don't remember who the woman was that must have been a producer, but they said they complimented me, and they were like, "How old are you?" And I told them, and they're like, 20 years old and 40 years of talent. You know what I mean? It was like they were just
oh, that's sweet.
Yeah. So I just really, so that was one that I really do wish that I had gotten. But ultimately it all comes out in the wash the same,
For sure. No, I mean, you get the parts you get, as the old saying goes.
I always wanted to play that like over dramatic, like really deep, like guitar player, beatnik. I just never got to play that, so I just think
Right.
it's just like an unrealized part of myself.
Well, never too late.
Yeah.
Favorite show? What movie or TV show has influenced you most, as far as like that you take inspiration from or that you love?
I think Taxi. I love Young Frankenstein. I used to love Soap.
Soap was so good.
Yeah, but I love like Taxi was just such a great show.
Yeah.
I mean, we covered it.
We used to, because Little House shot at Paramount. So I lived at Paramount when I was a kid. Then we shot Jag at Paramount for a year. And then when Tina and I did See Dad Run, we shot at Stage 19 at Paramount. So Paramount, when you're talking about it being like a college, I totally get it. It's beautiful.
Such a beautiful.
It's the only studio in town where it's in Hollywood and you can see the Hollywood sign. It's awesome. But we shot at the same time they were shooting Taxi, and my wardrobe guy, or the wardrobe guy, the dresser, he was a boxer, and he and Tony Danza used to box at the gym that they had over there. And so, yeah, Taxi was like a big deal, not only just as a show, but just sort of like, oh, those guys over down the street.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, show me again. What movie do you rewatch the most?
I'm not a big, I don't watch movies over and over again. But when I was a kid, it was like Annie Hall. I forgot about that. It was like Annie Hall Sleeper,
Yep.
and Benji. But
Benji.
yeah, and then I guess that, and I love Pulp Fiction.
That's a great movie.
It's a great movie to watch again. I try not to overwatch things because I like to love them forever. But Young Frankenstein is such a classic too.
There's so many things in there. Frankenstein. Okay, and then finally, show me some love. What's your favorite performance of mine?
Well, I think that I'm needing to go back now because you've worked. I can't even believe all these amazing things that you've done. I'm going to go back to Mame. I'm going to watch Mame again. But I was going to say, I really like what you're doing here. Like I have watched a few of these episodes because I think you're really good at this. And but
That is so kind.
yeah, but you can always challenge me to go to watch something else. What's your favorite thing that you've done?
Heathers, for sure. I mean,
Heathers.
without a doubt.
Heathers is
It's like it was the one movie that I fought for. I read the script. I wanted to be in it. It went. The shooting was exactly like what you would want it to be like. And then the final product was, again, I speak about it like, like I'm not involved because I was such a big fan of it.
Yeah.
And Kim was amazing. I mean, it's like it lost way too soon.
Yeah.
But everybody in it was just so perfect, and the writing was amazing.
That was one of those. I remember that when everybody was reading for that. I remember, and
Right.
that was one of the ones everybody wanted to have a part in that movie. Yeah, and it's funny because I know, I was watching the episode with you and Lisanne, and so Lisanne and I were acting class buddies. We used to pass notes to each other. Kim and I ended up being roommates.
Oh wow!
And I knew Christian because she and Kim were together, and he was with a few different friends of mine or whatever. So Christian was at my 21st birthday party.
Oh wow!
And then there were other people that I knew in it. I know so many of the people that were in that. And then Shannon Doherty. She and I were in acting class together when we were kids. I'm the missing link of Heathers.
Well, and Brad and I auditioned for Heathers together. And, he went on, I think he's done some other things after that.
Who's Brad? Oh, Brad Pitt?
Brad Pitt, yeah. They had him and me read for the part that I ended up getting, on the mixing and matching days where they, bring you in and they mix and match different people. But yeah, it was one of those parts. It was one of those movies where it was all hands on deck. Everyone, was, kind of in the mix. The reason I found it was they wanted my brother to come in for JD, and he read it and he refused to go in because it was a stupid movie about suicide. And he says, read this. And I read it and I fell in love. I go, you're missing the whole point here. He goes, it's dumb. He didn't like it. But he ended up liking the movie. Epilogue. Okay, so epilogue here. What do you got to plug? What's going on? Where do you want to send people?
Well, you know what? I am doing astrology readings. I know it's out of the blue. It's like, where did that come from? But that's actually that's a place where I am available to the public. I love to read people's charts and to give them good sound, not direction necessarily, but a good frame for where they're at.
Would they go to mandyingber.com?
Yes, go to mandyingber.com. You can reach me there. You can reach me through, obviously, Instagram, Mandy Ingber, Twitter, Ms. Mandy Ingber, Facebook, Mandy Ingber's Yogalosophy.
Everything is down in the links below, so it'll be easy for you to get to her. And obviously, she knows what she's talking about. And Mandy, I can't thank you enough for doing this. This was so fun to get to know more about you, and thank you for hanging out.
Thank you for hanging out and for spending so much time with me today.
Of course.
It's the Patrick Labyorteaux Show. Patrick Labyorteaux. He's the one you gotta know.
Hey, everybody. I'm so glad that you're enjoying the podcast and checking it out. It is an audio podcast wherever you get your audio podcast, and it's a video podcast over on YouTube. My socials are all patrick.labyorteaux, and that is on Instagram, on YouTube, on TikTok. I'm everywhere. If you want information on the school, you can go to workingactorsschool.com. We have classes going all the time. It's a lot of fun. I suggest you check it out. Hey, we'll see you next time.
It's the Patrick Labyorteaux Show. Patrick Labyorteaux. He's the one you gotta know.
They put hot honey sauce on the snack wrap? McDonald's outdid themselves again. The classic snack wrap we all know and love, paired with the sweet heat of hot honey sauce? Just what we needed to make it even more perfect. You know the drill. So go to McDonald's and try it today.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.